Hi everyone, my name's Sarah Drummond. I am a Scottish Government appointed board member to Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park. I joined the board about 3 years ago. I've had a great time being a board member, learning a lot about the balance of nature, climate crisis, and how you create places where people can live and work. And hopefully I've brought a bit of my experience in how you design services and user experiences and visitor experiences to the national park. It's such a fantastic role. I've learned, as I said, so much about this kind of balance of nature, climate, and people. And that's something that I'm really passionate about and really wanted to bring to the national park. How do you create places where people, communities, business, and nature can truly thrive? And can you do that in one place? I think national parks are such a kind of special testbed of ways in which we can make that work and how we make the natural environment work for us when we come to visit and live there. And I've been really passionate about that my whole life. So coming to the national park to actually see and work with the team on this scale and looking at that kind of place-based making was really exciting for me. As part of my role there, I got involved in becoming the co-chair of something called the Futures Group, which is part of our board structure and governance, where we look at the big sticky and thorny issues facing national parks. And one of them, which I feel really passionate about as a young person who used to come and spend a lot of time in the national park and only cycle there or take the train and not drive, was to look at forms of sustainable transport. And our Futures Group kind of looks at these strategic issues with our officers and our other board members and other stakeholders, and brings in different data that we have from surveys and academic studies and qualitative feedback to the organisation, and tries to grapple with how we actually think about some of these issues. And sustainable transport was one of the ones I've really personally enjoyed. And these are the sort of topics that you get to think about if you become a board member and get involved in thinking through with officers. How do we do things like modal transport shift? How do we reduce car journeys but still make the park accessible for people who visit, live and work here? So becoming a board member kind of gives you an opportunity to really work with officers on the detail of how that might look, but really kind of keep that strategic foresight, I guess, and how we might make that a reality and how we will work with other stakeholders in the future to do it. I've been asked quite a lot, how does it fit into, the work life and other, things that you might have to do in your life? Well, the great thing about the board is that for the quarterly sessions that we have when we come together as a whole big board, these are always done well in advance. Actually, at the start of the year, we normally have most of the dates in the diary, so we just make sure that we're free for those. One of the things that happened during the pandemic was that we moved to doing more virtual conferencing, which has been really fantastic, allowing us to actually reduce our journeys to the national park and touch base online for things like our Futures Group to hold those kinds of discussions, which of course reduces our carbon footprint, which is great as well. But we still do in-person visits when we have certain plans to look at, when we have to come and just learn a bit more about what things look like on the ground. Just last week, actually, I was up near Loch in the Trossachs part of the national park with Forest and Land Scotland, Scottish Forestry and Scottish Water and my fellow board members and the park. And we were just learning a bit more about the kind of balance between the commerciality of the forestry industry and how we really invest back into nature and make sure that we're looking after our natural resources. And that was fantastic, getting to actually come out as a board member and hear from our different colleagues who are all working together across different organisations to try and meet our partnership objectives. So it's really fantastic to get the opportunity to come out and do those kinds of things as well. We've been out to visit things like campsites, different sites where we've had litter problems as well, and really see some of the problems on the face of it. And the fantastic thing is as well is that you get to work with other locally elected members and councillors who have experience of representing their communities, so really bringing that sort of voice in as well. So it's a really kind of great, amazing mix of people who come with lots of different experiences and different perspectives to look at how we meet our national park aims. And so that's why the job is really exciting, and I always encourage people to apply because your experience is always valid. And I'm actually personally interested in more diversity across the organisation and across the board. I think when we have more diverse teams, we design things to be more inclusive and accessible. So if you're out there and you have a particular experience and you think that experience could really lend itself to the board and how we shape what we do in the future, please apply. You'd be most welcome to. I definitely had a bit of imposter syndrome when I was applying, coming from a design background, thinking it might not be useful, but I've actually found my skills to be, I think, and hopefully they would say, of use to the national park, to think through things like visitor experience and to think through different ways of us using technology to deliver our services. So everything that you have is always valid, so please do apply, and look forward to seeing hopefully some great candidates in the future. Thanks a lot.